and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, so glad to have you. We're going to highlight the Clinton Arts Council, which is based in Clinton, Connecticut, and Steve Van Ness, the president, is my guest today. And Steve, so nice to have you. Thanks for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're busy.
We are. I'm busy, but glad to take the time to spend a few minutes with you.
Well, what I like to do is introduce the viewer to you personally. If you want to share a little bit about your background so that they get to know you, that would be great.
Great. Again, I'm Steve Van Ness. So I live in Clinton. I've lived there for about 17 years, and that whole time I've been there, I own an event company called Impact Arts Events Group, and I produce events, corporate music, all different kinds of events. I've been doing it since 1989. I started it, and I have 4 kids, and I live on the lake in Clinton, and I'm involved in the community. And I decided in 2019 they were looking to start the Arts Council, and I thought one of the best ways that I can give back to the community and take my time and talent of what I do professionally and give back to the community was to take on the role of the president of the Arts Council, which they were looking for someone to do. And Christine Gupal, who was the first selectman at the time and now is our state representative, is our vice president, and she asked me, and so I got kind of wrangled into it. I went to the meeting thinking I was just going to learn a little bit about it, and I walked out president. So to go, but it's it's a challenge. It's a lot. It's almost another full-time job, but it's a great way to give back to the community.
How long has it been in existence? Since 2019?
Yeah, 2019 I think is about, I don't know the exact date, that's about when it started. And so we had maybe a year of programming, and we got storytelling started, and we got a number of other projects going. A mural project and a sculpture mile on Main Street and a number of other programs going, and then COVID hit and everything stopped. But I sort of followed the path of my company because we lost all of our events that we were doing, and we started doing broadcast events. So we did the same thing. So we did storytelling virtually online. We had a Womankind series because 2020 was the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote, and we had a whole series on one-act plays that we reimagined virtually. So we did virtual events as much as we could during COVID, and then we started Live from Jules and Tom, which you maybe have heard about, which was in this coffee shop, which is not there any longer. We did that as a broadcast once things started to loosen up a little bit, and it was art and entertainment and history and things in there. And then now we're back live again pretty much, and developing a lot of programming for this year and the years to come.
You know, I just had Kids Connection here, and
Laura's on our board. She's a force of nature.
And as I had told you in an email that she was singing your praises, and that during COVID she was able to go virtual thanks to you.
Well, yeah.
Tell me what happened.
Well, interestingly, that's actually the very first virtual event we did. So, when COVID hit, she may have told you this, 2 weeks from when COVID hit and they shut everything down, she had the Town Hall Theater. We have this beautiful 400-seat Art Deco Town Hall Theater in Clinton, and she had 4 shows sold out with all these parents and all these people wanted to come, and they wouldn't let her do it. We had to shut everything down. So that was in March, and it took until May or early June, and we reimagined the event virtually. So, and this is pre-vaccination, so we had to be careful, but we took her studio that she has in her building, and we put them, it was Matilda, and we took the Matilda character and one other main character, and we put them in front of a camera live in the studio so they could sing songs and do parts that they did live. And then, the Kids Connection is amazing. They had 80 kids in the show, right? So you have all these middle schoolers, elementary school kids that are all in the chorus of 30 or 40 kids normally singing on stage. So they sent the track home and they said, sing into Zoom and make a Zoom recording of yourself. And then I hired some professional editors that were all sitting at home with nothing to do that I work with in my industry, and we edited together those songs of people singing. So it was like a Brady Bunch shot of 40 kids singing. And we used some tricks, like kids that were singing on key and on tempo, we kept their audio on, and some of them we turned off, but you couldn't really tell. And then they pre-recorded on Zoom from their homes the scenes that were done that were not musical scenes, they're just regular dialogue scenes. So if me and you had a dialogue scene, we both were at home and we recorded Zoom. So then we put the broadcast together. So it was really switching using vMix, which is a switching platform. So we had pre-records of a scene, and then Matilda, we'd switch to live in the studio and she'd sing a song, and then we'd go back to a video scene. So it pretty much switched back and forth from live to video, and it was a great, the parents were like, please do anything. And it was sort of exciting in a certain way. You know, one of the silver linings in COVID was that, you know, kids had never been on television before, on a broadcast before, and grandparents that lived in California could watch their kids, because we had a, you know, you could Zoom, we sent out a broadcast link that anyone could watch anywhere in the world, frankly. So they got a pretty good audience, and people that normally wouldn't be able to see it, you know, family and friends were able to see it. So yeah, that was actually the very first thing we did, and there were lots of learning curves, and out of that, a lot of great things came out of that show.
The Clinton Arts Council, are there other arts councils throughout the state, or is this unique?
No, there are lots of arts councils. So there's sort of, it's done in sort of segments and regionally. So other towns have arts councils. Not every town in Connecticut. There are like 163 towns in Connecticut. Not all of them have an arts council. But the ones that do, so there is a regional arts council called the Shoreline Arts Alliance. You may have heard of them. Eric Dillner is a good friend. And he sort of covers and represents the Clinton Arts Council, and represents 13 towns on the shoreline. Whether they have an arts council or not, he sort of is the regional arts council. And there are, I think, 11 of those regional arts councils around the state, 9 or 11, and they all sort of answer up to the State Arts Council, Connecticut Council for the Arts. Liz, I believe, is still the executive director. Right, Liz Shapiro. So, so all of those arts council, individual arts councils like ours, get the support of a regional arts council. I go to Eric when I need support, and Eric then goes to the state. We did this during COVID, so we worked with Eric and some of the other towns with the ARPA funds that were coming out to every town in Connecticut, you know, the COVID relief funds that were there, and said, we think 1% of the money that's coming to the town should go to the arts. And Eric sort of led that charge, and then myself and other towns went to our local communities and selectmen and town managers and said, we want this money to go to the arts, and wrote proposals about how we would use the money, which we did, and we actually just received that ARPA funds a couple weeks ago, actually, which gives us money to do what we couldn't do during COVID and to help restart us again, you know, from being sort of dormant during COVID. And it was really well. So that's how the sort of structure in the state works. As
the president, what are some of your responsibilities?
Ugh. Too many of them. How long do you have? My responsibilities are there's two missions really of the Arts Council, and we wrote a mission statement. And I should back up and say that during COVID, one of the things I was able to do, because things were slower, is we actually filed our 501c3, and we are our own nonprofit now. Clinton Arts Council has its own 501c3, so I can apply for grants and things like that and have its own financial structure. So there are two missions. One is to support and promote and help all the existing arts organizations and artists in Clinton. So that's a big task by itself. Not only the Clinton Art Gallery, which is an art gallery on Main Street, but individual artists, and that can have a pretty wide umbrella. And the second part is to promote the arts and culture in Clinton to not only Clintonians but to the shoreline, and to help this sort of an economic impact element of it too, where the Chamber of Commerce, arts and economics are like this, they work very closely together. So our job is to promote new events and create new programming that can promote Clinton as a arts hub on the shoreline, which it is. There's a huge amount going on in Clinton, and most people say, well, we don't know what's going on in Clinton, and that's part of the job of the Arts Council, is to take programming and make it and market it and brand it. So we're in 2022, 2023, 2024. Do you have an agenda of schedule of events that are happening? Well, I wish I had the agenda and the schedule. We're not there yet, but what we are doing coming out of it, I mentioned the ARPA funds. So the ARPA funds that we got is a 3-year proposal that I gave to the town that we're following, along with other grants that I'm writing. And so we don't have programming laid down, but the idea is that one of the things is we're starting new festivals. We're starting a festival this summer, which is an art festival on Main Street, on the Pearson School lawn. And the idea is that there'll be sustainable yearly events that will grow each year. So the idea is to create one new festival event of some kind that would be sustainable for years to come, think of the Guilford Art Festival that happens on the Green. It's been going for 30 years, right? It gets 10, 15,000 people coming to it. Years to come, that that's where I see that going. So the art festival will start this summer. It'll happen every summer from there on in, and then next year we'll start a second one. It could be something in the wintertime. We don't know what it is. We're still looking at programming and what it could be. It could be a blues festival. It could be a food festival. It could be anyone. It could be storytelling. It could be anybody. It would be an event that would be sustainable and grow each year. So we have that plan over the next 3 years to create one event each year. And then our ongoing programming is consistent and doesn't really stop. So that's ongoing. So we have the Sculpture Mile, which now there are 20 sculptures on Main Street from the one edge of Clinton to the other on Main Street in Clinton. And we work with the Holycraft Foundation, which is based in New London. And the gentleman that started that, his vision was to have sculptures on Route 1 from New London all the way to New Haven. It wasn't completely realized before he passed, but a lot of those towns on the shoreline have them. And they're putting signs in next week with QR codes so you can walk up to the sculpture and put your phone up to it and it'll tell you about the artist. And that'll go on our new website that we're building. So that's the other thing we're doing with the ARPA funds is we're building a new website. Like I said, people in Clinton are like, we don't know what's going on. It's, what's happening. There's actually a lot going on. So we're trying to build a comprehensive website with a calendar that has pretty much every event so people know where to go, tourists know where to go in the summertime. And that has marketing and branding to go with it because you can build a website, but until you brand it and do social media around it. So those things are all sort of in the works over the next year or two that'll grow the Arts Council, grow the programming, the Sculpture Mile. We have a storytelling series. We have other sort of programming that's ongoing, and then supporting like Laura, there are three big, we call them the three big arts presenting organizations in Clinton, which is Kids Connection, which is the most robust children's theater program in Connecticut, which is right in town and wonderful. And so we help and promote them. And once we have this website, we'll promote them. They all have their own websites, but we'll sort of help them and promote them. Connecticut Opera, which is home, and you might have had Alan on here at one point. He's our treasurer, and they produce, their home theater is the Town Hall Theater, so helping to promote them. And then Flynn, which you probably know, which, is an ongoing organization. So there's those three big ones, but then there's lots of smaller organizations that, that do different programs that we work with too.
Okay, let's hold that thought.
Yeah.
I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Better Business Bureau is warning consumers about a used car scam. The scammer pretends to be a woman who's lost her husband, and it says she's trying to get rid of his car. The scammer claims they'll put your money in escrow for 5 days, so if you don't like the car, you can get your money back. But BBB's investigation has uncovered that the escrow or logistics firm the scammer is using isn't legit. Many of these websites lead back to a virtual office in Hartford. Never wire funds for an online purchase, and always make sure you can see the car in person before you buy.
You matter.
You matter.
You matter.
And your words matter too.
Your words matter.
What you say in the hallways at school or in the student section at a game matters.
Words can be hurtful.
Words can be offensive.
Words can leave scars.
Words can also inspire.
Support and uplift.
You and your words.
Are they both important?
As a matter of fact, yes.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and again, as always, thanks so much for being here. Well, we're highlighting the Clinton Arts Council, and Steve Van Ness continues to be my guest. And Steve, we were talking about your arts festival that you wanted to talk about. Tell us more about that.
So this is mostly sort of a visual arts festival. It's a new event that we're going to start this summer. It's on July 30th, which is a Saturday, and it's going to be on the lawns of the former Pearson School, which is right on Main Street in the Arts District in downtown Clinton. And it's going to celebrate and focus on art and visual art and all different kinds of art that you can buy and hands-on. So we're going to have chainsaw sculptors doing big chainsaw pieces, and it's right there on Main Street. And we have booths that people can rent a space and sell their art. There's a big focus on youth art and up-and-coming artists. There's a big focus on kids. We're going to do a sort of Chihuly style recycled plastic bottles chandelier that gets built on site by kids. So it'll be a hands-on kids project that we'll build and then we'll hang in the gazebo. So there's a gazebo that's there that's sort of right in the middle of town where they have a music series. And we're going to focus on bluegrass music this year. And we actually have a couple of up-and-coming bluegrass Bend in the River. Hopefully, we're just about to contract with them. They're one high school and one college brother and sister that are amazing up-and-coming bluegrass players that we'll have. Probably going to have a youth bluegrass jam going on. And we'll have food trucks there. Chow, the restaurant in Clinton, they have a barbecue food truck will be there. So we'll have some food trucks that will be there. There are some other demos that are going on. I have a young photographer that's going to do take photos of people doing portraits and having like a screen right there so that you can look at your portrait. It's sort of live in-person portrait gallery sort of happening. And then there'll be booths of lots of different kind of artists, painters, sculptors, drawing of all different kinds, and it'll be all right there. So there'll be music and food and art, and this is the first year of it as we're coming out of COVID, and we look to see this growing every year and be a yearly event that takes place in downtown Clinton. We're excited about it, but we are still looking for more artists, and we've made it, because it's a first year, really accessible. You know, a lot of the art festivals in Old Saybrook or in Guilford that have been around for a long time, it costs a lot of money to get a booth because they have 10,000 people come to it and they sell a lot. But we're just making it really simple, $25 to have a booth there. If you don't have a tent or a booth, we'll help you get one, and no commissions of any kind. So if you're an artist and you're interested in selling your art and promoting your art, this is a great place to come and get some exposure. We're going to have a pretty comprehensive social media and marketing campaign starting in the beginning of July for the whole month of July. So that's we're excited about a new event that we're creating for the Shoreline.
Is there a term for your presidency? Will you be there for a while, or does it end?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, there are bylaws for nonprofits, and we're, like I mentioned before, we have our own 501c3, so we have bylaws and we have a board. And I believe it's 3 years is the president term, and then you sort of the board revotes again. So I'm not sure how long I want to do this. I think my goal really would be, because I'm a volunteer and I do this to give back, I get really nothing from it in any personal way, except the satisfaction of seeing the arts and culture grow in the town I live in. My goal would be to get these programs going and then be able to pass it on to somebody else and see it grow, past my time.
Do you foresee the Arts Council growing and continuing on? You just started in 2019. Do you see it in 2025?
In 2030 and 2040, yes.
Okay.
I see this as arts councils are there to be, to promote and support the cultural and economic growth of the town and the Shoreline, because we also are in a very tourist high area. I mean, Lobster Landing, is voted the #1 lobster roll in Connecticut every year, right in our town. Lots of tourists come to Clinton, and other towns. People that live in the other shoreline towns come to Clinton for sushi, for lobster rolls, for opera at the theater. So they come there anyway, and our goal is to grow that. Clinton actually has a very diverse cultural community, and we need to celebrate that more. So I see this as a long-term venture. That's why I'm putting my time into it, because I don't see this as a short-term thing. I want to grow it to the point where it can be passed on to the next group of people that'll work it.
Have you started to work on the website?
We are now interviewing companies, 3 or 4 different vendors that are website builders. This is not a simple project because it's easy to build a website. It's not easy to build a website that has a calendar function that's really very integrated, because we don't have staff dollars to hire someone to call every arts organization every 2-3 weeks and say, so what's on there? Let me put it on your calendar. It's got to be really integrated. So I'm interviewing, I've got one company in New Haven that I've talked to that I really like. We're going to talk to a couple others. and we'll hopefully start building it this month, the first steps of it. But there's a lot that needs to happen on that site. It needs to support all the artists in town. It needs to promote. It's really a tourism site too, so there's a marketing and branding piece. So half of it's actually building the platform and the website and a calendar that's really easy to read, really easy. I mean, we could put this program on it, for instance, and help market what you do. That every Wednesday afternoon, wherever you broadcast this, that should be on there because it's an arts and entertainment cultural thing on the shoreline. And then the other piece of it is really creating a branding campaign for Clinton, which brands and markets the arts in Clinton. And that you have to have, so you have to drive traffic to the website, and that's the step 2 of it.
What about the future of the shoreline and of arts? I mean, is it going to continue to blossom? It seems to be the place to be.
It is. I think it's the blossoming and growing cultural, I don't know if Mecca is the right word for Connecticut. It's a tourist destination in a lot of ways, and it's got such a diversity between the marina and the waterfront world, and culture and art, and all the great cultural events that happen on shoreline. The Kate. At the theater in Clinton, the theater in Clinton has all kinds of performances going on all the time. A lot of people don't even know about. People rent that theater all the time. Ballet companies, the opera company uses it as their home. Kids Connection uses it, and then all the way up and down from New Haven, through Old Saybrook at least. There is a plethora of events all going on. I mean, how often it's like, what are we going to go do tonight? And there's too many things to choose from. Being that comprehensive is great. I think there's a lot going on, and I think the shoreline is only going to grow. And what Eric Dillner does with the Shoreline Arts Alliance helps promote that. And there's diversity in culture and art, and we want to bring more of that here.
What does the future look like for you? You're a busy man with your own company and so on and so forth. Do you have time to juggle both?
Well, that's why I'm saying I want to be able to pass it on. And I actually have one other project that we're working on, which is working with arts and education is really important. And so we have a mural project working with a muralist that's up in Hartford through Rise Up, which is the MLK Mural State Mural Project that they do all over the state. They've identified an artist for us, and we've gone into the high school with sustainability and cultural diversity team that they have there. And we're working with them on building a mural that the kids have imagined about cultural diversity and inclusion in community and society, and those murals are actually being drawn and painted right now, and they'll eventually come out and be in Clinton. So that's an arts and education project that's really important to us, is involving Morgan High School in all the arts that we do. And for me, I'm really busy. I'm actually trying to decide how much more I want to take on with Impact Arts Events Group. I have a fair amount of corporate and music events that I produce and work on nationally, and trying to balance that with the Arts Council is a lot. So I am my goal is to actually scale back the corporate events that I do and do more local events. I actually do more local events because of COVID. I work with a lot more local regional arts groups because of COVID, because we couldn't go anywhere and we couldn't travel. So I want to develop some new festivals if I can. I helped start Gathering of the Vibes, which is the music festival for 25 years that was in Bridgeport. I'm one of the founding members of that. It stopped a couple years ago. But so I'd love to get more music festivals, things going in the state of Connecticut that helps promote where I live.
We are starting to run out of time. What are your thoughts to the viewer that's watching us now about the Arts Council, about the future, even of Clinton?
Well, I would say first, thanks for having me, and this has been great. And I think come to Clinton, look up what's going on in Clinton. There's a lot going on. Look for our website, which we'll be promoting once it's built. And I think get out and see the arts, and arts and culture is what the economic driver that brings us back after COVID. And a lot of towns are doing a lot of things to try to promote the arts and culture, which promotes the economic development in the town. And I think get out and celebrate the arts and culture that are in your communities, whether it's Clinton or on the shoreline or wherever you live. I know this is mostly shoreline based, but in all the towns there's a huge amount going on, and be part of it. Be part of your community in that way.
Well, I want to thank you very much for being here. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. being here. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And thanks all of you for being here today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And if you'd like to volunteer or if you'd like to be a guest on the program, please be in touch with me. I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. Hope you have a super day. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.